Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Late Night Real Estate. I'm your host, Joshua Allen, and tonight we're going to be taking a look at 3D printed homes, and this is going to be my first ever reaction video. Okay, I'm liking the intro, looking saucy.
The idea of 3D printing our buildings is nothing new. Faced with a desperate need to construct more homes faster and in a more efficient way, countless innovators have found themselves drawn by the idea of being able to quickly print a structure and have spent years trying to scale
Okay, so the reason that I picked this subject is because the housing market across the entire U.S. economy has absolutely taken off this past year. A lot of places have seen exponential growth. A lot of homes have increased in almost $100,000 in value over the past year. So one of the things that's being looked at now is how long can we keep this production up and what's going to happen. And 3D printing,
the
I think it could be a real
this
possibility.
moment for construction and for the buildings we all use could be huge. With the promise of cutting waste, reducing time on site and addressing labour shortages, some see 3D printing as the answer to many of our world's challenges. Originally used for small-scale prototypes, advances in 3D printing have led to the creation of full-scale structures like bridges and homes, and even plans for mankind's first Martian base. But while 3D printed structures have appeared around the world, from Canada and the Netherlands to Dubai, which wants to 3D print a quarter of its new buildings by 2030, the technology is yet to take off as a widespread building technique. But the completion of this 3D printed house in Beckham, Germany is set to change everything. Developed by leading formwork and scaffolding firm Perry, experts in its disruptive products and technologies department and its project partners.
Now that could be pretty cool. They're talking about going up onto Mars. Now I don't know what the real scientific answer behind that is. I'm sure finding oxygen and water is going to be a whole other thing, but hey, seeing this go to the moon,
the structure
that'd be pretty cool.
is the first 3D printed building in Germany to become certified with a national building accreditation, smashing a major barrier and paving the way for larger, more complex projects. Located just outside the city of Ulm, Perry's team is now working on the largest 3D printed multifamily house in Europe, with 380 square meters of living space divided into 5 apartments across 3 levels.
So how did Perry get into the world of 3D printing?
Here at Perry we have, let's call it a think tank. It's a department called Disruptive Products and Technology.
Okay, so we know that 3D printed homes are probably going to be constructed out of cement, which I just watched a video the other day talking about how they're taking the blades from windmill turbines now and breaking them down into cement. So I wonder if that's going to be the real solution to solving that problem, because they're saying too many of them are ending up in landfills.
When we build up the printer on a construction site, directly on the site, and we start printing there, it could happen in real.
The homes were both built with Cobod's modular BOD 2 printing system, a flexible platform that can be scaled to suit projects of varying size. The printer needs just 2 operators and takes less than 48 hours to set up on site. Once up and running, the system can print as fast as 1 meter per second, using data from integrated design models.
There's been a lot of firms around the world that have done this, a lot of research teams of 3D printed buildings over the years, and there's been kind of different levels of excitement around it. Why isn't it widespread? Why isn't this just the way that we build all of our buildings?
3D printing really affects the overall construction process. It has impact on the planning side, execution of the walls, but also on other trades, and the planning and permitting, all of these things come into play here. The buildings that we've seen across the globe actually have seen a steady increase in, let's say, validity.
Okay, so I noticed that this guy's title was a software engineer, and I wonder how that's going to affect that market and that whole line of work and tradesmanship, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different CAD programs that we're going to see pop up onto the market, and it would be pretty interesting to see what kind of things they're going to start to implement. More so primarily in how the systems work and what other ways we're going to see CAD start to be utilized and
what Perry have done in Germany with this building, how is that different to what we've seen before in Dubai, the Netherlands, many kinds of other places?
We wanted to do real world architectural scale permitted residential buildings. So we've done lots and lots of tests to get this German building permit, and we have one of the toughest building codes around. So that's quite a milestone to get these completely normally permitted residential homes, and that's, I think, where the core difference lies.
Saving time, money, and waste material. While the savings may be modest here, they'd soon add up across an entire estate or housing development.
What kind of real-world savings have you seen on this project so far?
This integration of other trades has a huge impact. So we've had the electrician come into one of these buildings, and he walks around and says, well, guys, I'll be saving up to like 12 days in here. So we are saving a lot of labor in other trades, because there's in the buildings we're executing, there's not going to be a single slot that has to be cut. Nobody's going to have to drill a hole for a power outlet.
Though the design of these buildings may feel relatively straightforward when compared to some of today's architecture, the team are using the lessons learned to construct larger structures in a variety of forms. With German building certifications now under their belt, the team are planning more projects using different materials, and with a focus on further reducing waste. But while there is cause for optimism, we're still some way from the widespread uptake of 3D printing, and several challenges remain, not least breaking into a traditionally conservative industry.
I mean, securing German building certification is a huge step for you guys, and a huge step for the world of 3D printing. What kind of other challenges and barriers are there on the way between where we are now and this being the way we build our homes, buildings, offices?
Well, it's a lot about educating people, really, to know, it's a different type of planning a building.
Okay, so they talk about the time, the money, and the materials that are saved in doing this, and that makes me wonder, are we going to see a shift in the housing prices because of this? I wonder how that's really going to affect the entirety of the market. And let's say the whole market does switch over to 3D printing. I'm curious to see if lending requirements would loosen up a little bit, depending on how much of a savings there is, because let's say, for instance, that it cuts the cost to produce a house in half. That would make it a lot more viable for a lot more people to be able to purchase, because right now it's been pretty difficult.
Of course. Right away, I'd be all over the design of that. I mean, just having round shapes, which are also way more sustainable than the weird rectangles that we build right now. Definitely, and we've tested all of it, so we know that it's very, very stable.
While the technology has had its challenges, the success of Peri's project in Germany marks a major step forward and will stand as a powerful case study for innovators, rekindling the determination to make this building technique viable at scale. That 3D printed world we've imagined has just moved one huge step closer to becoming real.
Okay, so he said that he would live in a 3D printed house. What about the people that are watching this? Would you see yourself living in a 3D printed house? Is it something that you could really envision? Not only that, I actually kind of want to know, when do you guys think that we could see this relatively in our market? Is it 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or is it within the next 5 years? I think that's something that we definitely have to ask ourselves. Okay, so that was a super awesome video. I'm really glad I got to do that. I've been really wanting to do a lot of this content for a while, but I've been really tied up with schoolwork and current business and real estate today. Okay, so if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for tuning into Late Night Real Estate. This is probably the first of many reaction videos to come, and I can't wait to bring you guys more content. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later.